RMSD, and Redlands Educational Support Professionals Association, RESPA, effective March 11, 2026.
So, second.
Leslie, thank you very much. Any discussion? Call for the vote.
I'll have something to say.
There's something.
And this goes for the next item too, so I won't have to be redundant, but we need to keep our spaces, our teacher spaces, neutral and be respectful of all families and all of their values. It really is coming from a common sense position of neutrality, where regardless of what side of the aisle you are on any issue that's a political or cultural issue, we shouldn't be having teachers have their personal space decked out with controversial issues, hot topics, religious beliefs, political beliefs. I think it's inappropriate for teachers to be having their personal agenda associated with them in their front of the room at their desk and really influencing students. Teachers have a huge influence on their students in a classroom, and even more so than parents during certain years of their life. So I think that it's almost worse than having political or ideological flags on the walls, because it's a personal endorsement of that teacher's beliefs. And when students respect them so much, I think it's a problem that we shouldn't have the culture wars. We should keep things neutral, and we should keep the main thing being the main thing, which is education. I also think that, as it has been for many families that talk to me, they complain that their student feels very uncomfortable, doesn't want to say anything, doesn't want to be harassed, and feels extremely uncomfortable with the teacher's beliefs, but they don't want to be targeted by that teacher or retaliated. They fear retaliation.
Anything else?
Yes, I just want to give kudos to Assistant Sue Bruick for all her hard work and her team on working on this, and same with the RTA and RESPA. Everyone who was part of this appreciated all the hard work and time that they gave.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, I just wanted to, again, share my concerns. I feel that not having any flags of any special groups should be allowed. And I feel that it's this particular, certain flags have very religious significations in the way people interpret them, and it's a significant topic for teachers to be giving their personal validation on when it is not part of the curriculum, it is not connected to the educational experience, and it should be left to the parents. Like one of the community members stated tonight, I thought very eloquently, that it's such a significant and personal issue for some of the flags that could be on the teachers' desks that it should just be left to the parents. To me, it's an issue that should definitely be given to the parents. I think it would help some parents decide to keep their kids in a public school when they don't have to have their own moral or religious views countered by the child's teacher. That puts the parent in a very tenuous position, because the parent wants their child to like their teacher and to feel safe with their teacher and to feel, you know, like the teacher is gonna like them. And so I just think the cleanest way is just leave that to the parents and let the teachers focus on education, and what is on their desk should be related to education.
Any other discussion? Okay, can we call for the vote?
Motion carried with the ayes being President Wendler, Vice President Holohan, and Clerk Ayala Quintero, and the nays being Board Member Wilson and Board Member Olson.
Our motion to Redlands Unified School District, RUSD, and Redlands Teachers Association, RTA, effective March 11th, 2026.
So moved.
I'll second. Any discussion?
Just thank you for everyone's hard work on this. I know this is probably a very tense issue, but I appreciate everybody's time.
Oh, you have something?
I would like to say something. The fact that there's no dimensions or the fact that you would be okay with just all concerns to the wind, you know, it's basically the same exact thing. The flags on the walls versus on the desk without any type of restrictions doesn't make any sense at all.
Well, I'm seeing this as historically what teachers have done.
Which is why a lot of us got involved in this.
Historically, they had small little pennants in there, or they wore their lanyard, or something like that.
Pennants and lanyards are on the body, not on our property on the desk.
The little pennants were in pencil cups. That's how.
There should have been some dimensions. If you intended to just have it 2 by 2, that should have been written on that agreement.
I actually brought that up months ago, probably a year ago, if we could have a discussion on dimensions, and I was shut down on that. So, I mean, I don't think, one, we're not supposed to be chastising each other for each other's votes, because I think we've already voted on the last one. And I don't see why this was a concern about a teacher's personal space. And the top of their desk is considered a personal space.
Our public school property, influencing our kids.
And in that public school property, a teacher is allowed personal space for their own belongings. This is that personal space.
My concern, I was gonna ask one about, is how will this be upheld if the employee chooses to, in a sense, disrespect the policy, go all out in decorating their desk with lots of different flags and so forth? Just curious.
Well, there will be accountability in the same way that there is for any policy that is broken or violated, I should say. As far as different examples of what's okay and what's not okay, it's something that was discussed at the table. Looking at what's on your desk, what historically has been a practice. It could be just on your workstation, you have pictures, you have pennants maybe. What isn't an example of what would be okay? What's an example of something that would now be okay is like draping your desk with any specific, flag or painting your desk.
I didn't see that.
That's really about. What you do see is the word historic practices. And historic practices, when we talk about what we've typically seen on a workspace, that's why I'm describing sort of this, the examples that I'm giving, yes.
And our teachers are professional. I think they'll respect boundaries and responsibilities and what's private. They're very professional.
Any more discussion? All right, we'll call for the vote.
Motion carried with the ayes being President Rendler, Vice President Holohan, Clerk Ayala Quintero, and the nays being Board Member Wilson and Board Member Olson.
We do have a motion to approve revision of administrative regulation 4229, volunteers to administrative volunteers.
Second.
Volunteers. Okay, first read.
First read.
I had a question about the workers' comp benefits. I never heard back. Juan, did you? Are we obligated to provide workers' comp benefits for volunteers? I'm asking Lisa. Thank you. Okay, well, when I looked it insurance, I know that's, you have to cover someone working on your premises, if they get injured, but workers' comp,
I have to check on workers.
okay.
I have a question. You
No,
finished?
I wasn't finished, I had one other thing. I had a question about the very last sentence that says, that volunteers are not authorized to assign grades to students and staff, et cetera, and regularly authorized classified employees who have been laid off. And it also has the same language on the other page on 1172, also 1173. So it always says who have been laid off. Isn't it also that they shouldn't be assigning grades or used to assist in those type of duties regardless? Like, for example, even if the teacher has gone to a doctor's appointment or they're on modified duty or such and such, shouldn't it just be period instead of it's only who have been laid off? Well, I found that it does, I've read through both of them and it always says employees who have been laid off.
I think it's meant to suggest that we can't ask someone to come in and volunteer to replace a paid employee.
Are we talking about the,
Right now it's the VP.
okay,
It would
sorry,
be-
workers' comp is on the AR then, my bad. But for the VP, it also says who have been laid off. I just feel like that sentence, that who have been laid off shouldn't be there, it just should be period.
I thought that was like union language, that we couldn't bring in a volunteer to replace something that an employee who's been laid off, replace their duties.
That's correct.
But also, volunteers don't teach, right? They're not allowed to teach or assign grades, correct?
Right.
So it shouldn't just be only for those who have been laid off, it should be just period.
In the board policy, it says volunteers will assist in certificated and or classified personnel in the performance of their duties on a short-term basis to enhance the educational program, but not in lieu of a classified employee. So, I think
Where's that, Michelle?
it's in the board policy.
I mean, what
What
page, what paragraph?
Paragraph.
On page 1117.
Volunteers.
Oh, shall not be used to assist certificated staff in performing, it says this, in performing teaching or administrative.
Yeah, volunteers will not assist. It's like the eighth paragraph on page of the board policy.
So do classified employees assist in teaching and administrative responsibilities?
I'm trying to make sure we're on the same page. What does it talk about?
I'm on the, oh, it's the AR, sorry.
Okay.
Not the board policy, it's the AR. I'm sorry. It says,
Okay, the board policy that speaks to classified employees who've been laid off is just to cover the education code where you cannot have volunteers do classified work, which I think everybody has that understanding. You're saying that something else should also be added to that?
No, it should be, in any case, so just period, instead of who have been laid off, it just should get rid of that and just say period, because it could be the employees at the doctors, or they're on a modified duty, or they're gone from the classroom for whatever reason. It shouldn't only be for those who have been laid off.
They
No,
shall not.
there will be instances though where volunteers are assisting, where regularly authorized classified employees would typically be there, or in addition to being there. So if you have a paraeducator who is authorized and who's been laid off, and then there's a parent who's assisting, they would be doing that kind of work and helping, which is why it's not laid out like that. That is something that could happen. What this is trying to say is that in the instance that you have a volunteer helping in a classroom in this way, it can't be because you've laid somebody off and now they're doing that work so we don't have to pay for it.
Does it say anywhere where there's limited and they can't, okay, volunteer minutes, do not replace
based on paid employees, right? We pay workers' comp based on salaries, total salaries, and volunteers, in terms of volunteer cents, don't get paid.
So we can talk about that when we get to the AR.
Okay, I had one thing. Oh, no, it's on the it's on the it's on the AR.
Any other board policy?
Do they have to be 18?
Volunteers, yes.
Okay.
Except if they're with
It would be students, if they're current students, then they wouldn't be considered volunteers, they're students of ours who might be helping others' campuses, but they're not volunteers.
But like a parent's child or whatever.
Correct.
Also be coming, okay. The only thing to me, the 1, 2, 3, 4th paragraph on the board policy is a little vague in terms of the training they get, but maybe it can just be tightened up within the administrative regulation. It just says like,
It doesn't list the trainings, but it does
as
say.
appropriate,
as-
yeah, so
right.
I'll bring up that concern on the AR.
any more discussion on the board policy? I'll call for a vote.
So this is the motion for the board policy 4229? Okay,
Yeah, and it was backwards on my thing, so I did the AR first on accident. I read the AR.
For the BP, so
but it's a
the
BP.
BP, yes.
Okay, may I please be reminded of the, motion, who made the motion and who seconded it?
And Melissa and Patty.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, wait, that's at 6115. That's at 6115. I just voted on 6115. What did I do? We're on the volunteers.
I'm just missing one vote. Huh? Jeanette. Emma? Okay, thank you. Motion carried, 5-0.
Okay, good job.
Okay, now do I have a motion to approve, the revision of administrative regulation 4229, volunteers, the administrative, on volunteers. Motion to do. Yeah, she just did. This is the first read for volunteer assistance for the AR.
So moved.
Okay.
A second.
All right, any discussion? question. On the second paragraph, it says, volunteers shall not be employees. We have teachers and campus monitors and office workers, whatever, who volunteer in the kids' classrooms.
I think that part is just to say that they're serving without compensation. But you're correct, we do have,
So
other
we just
teachers
take that
who
little-
volunteer.
In the AR, it doesn't say anything about compensation, it just said they shall not be employees.
Right, and it says shall serve without compensation of any type or other benefit.
How can we change that to make it?
I think that's what's covered under where it says such volunteers, because it's speaking to those specific types of volunteers.
In that second paragraph that you're referring to, it does say such volunteers shall not be employees of the school district and shall serve without compensation of any type or other benefits.
But it doesn't speak to those volunteers, it only speaks to these types of volunteers, like a parent volunteer in the classroom.
But there are parents who volunteer in the kids' classrooms,
Yeah, that's what this policy is about.
and they work in this district.
But that's, they're doing it outside of the scope of their job.
Okay, maybe can we, change that language to reflect that, because that's clearly.
It already says employees.
Okay, I understand what you're saying, it's just, it's semantics, all we're trying to say is volunteers can't be paid. But,
We can
Employee
make some
volunteers.
edits to that
But-
because we need to make an edit to the ordinance policy.
Employee volunteers.
Alright, that sounds good.
Yeah, because it says
but
they
it
shall
makes
not
it clear,
employees.
yeah.
Okay, any more discussion?
This is where I'll bring up my concern about the training for volunteers, especially with our Title IX, oversight and the OAG. It seems like we should have it a little tighter on specific type of training that the volunteers will get. And I had suggested to Juan, maybe even just like a 1 or 2 page written training that they sign off, that they obtain that training. I know we talked about using Keenan in the past, but that's not realistic. So then I suggested something that they read and sign. I kind of wanted to get Dr. Wilson's input on that.
We are planning on hosting several training opportunities at the district office starting in the summer when we start to review all of our volunteers, so that parents have an opportunity to come at various times throughout the summer to get training that would be led by human resources and compliance.
Oh,
Our
okay.
plan is to review our board policy 4019.1 and our boundary policy, and also mandated reporting.
And would that be required?
Yes, they would need to do that prior to being able to volunteer.
Oh, great. Can we add that to this?
It's part of the, oh, maybe it's on the other one. It's now a required mandate.
You can add it as a mandate.
Well, the only caution is almost yearly our required trainings change. We add trainings, we remove trainings, we extend training, shorten trainings, because laws change. So if you codify any specific training in the policy, that means you have to bring this policy back yearly to update the style of training that you're gonna do. So I would just recommend saying, being general, having general in terms of what types of training, subject matters versus specifics.
Oh,
We also looked at Keenan in a different way that we do now, where a volunteer could go to their website, put in a code we give them, and self-register and to take the training if they miss that. So we're looking at various ways to obtain volunteer training. Again, codifying the style of training they'll get will also bind us in offering multiple types of training.
Can we say district approved training?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what it says. I caution getting too specific in a policy.
no, I just think some general topic type guidelines.
Do we even really need to add that technically, because if it's something that we're requiring to become a volunteer, I mean, isn't something that's just gonna be an extra step anyways?
Fingerprints in there now too.
Yeah, well, it's a law, so the law change, it requires us to send all volunteers, or anybody who makes contact with students, we're talking sometimes even contractors that come off campus, have to go through required
Okay,
trainings.
good.
Yeah. legal piece, so we're updating our policies to kind of reflect the law, which is why you see this stuff going through.
Yeah, and I think it can meet both needs, like, we don't have to be like super specific of what the training is, but it can include mandated training, doing safety.
Yeah.
and-
Boundaries is a good general topic, exactly. So that's a law from a little bit back,
Yeah, it's a recent one with extending the volunteers.
I see, okay,
And that has to be in place by July.
got it. Thank
With
you.
the few edits.
I have one other comment. The volunteers will be limited in the number of hours serviced, sounds weird, devil choice, but in a single classroom setting.
And we talked about that last month.
So I know in the past, the amount of hours was a concern for many of the volunteers. My only thought on that, I like having it broader than a certain number, but, I would like to see a little oversight, where the number of hours that a principal, I guess it would be, totally be a principal, approves over, I mean, whenever I don't know what the expected number would be, but when they approve a large number of hours, that it be, overseen or signed off, like by ed services or something. Because there was a reason we were trying to limit the number of hours. So this is back to a principal being able to approve a limited number of hours.
And that's why it was added in the superintendent or designee. And so we talked about that a few months ago when we were talking about this, the designee could be the principal saying, you know, this particular volunteer can only work X amount of hours.
What you're trying to shy away from is just a particular employee on his own, grabbing a volunteer and helping him do his job. 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. So you have oversight from an administrator to make sure that those types of things don't happen.
I think what I hear, Jeanette saying is there should be like an additional, like approval, like if a certain school wants somebody to work 20 hours, it needs to be kind of okay, or if the other school wants somebody to do 50 hours, it should just be okay, not just the principal being.
Right.
Is that what I'm thinking?
That's what I'm thinking, because I know you told me the designee would be the principal.
Yeah.
So that would allow 26 different schools to have different principals determining how many hours volunteers could be utilized.
I think something that's gonna throw a hiccup in that is, like, it includes field trip attendance. We have some volunteers that are volunteering on overnight field trips, so we're looking at, 24 hours at a time, so I don't know about limiting, hour-wise, that without getting approval from the designee is really gonna help.
We just have to figure it out, but I mean, as far as additional oversight, I mean, that's possible. It's not, I think we were just trying to make sure that we met the needs of every site.
Right.
Some are gonna want less, some are gonna want more. I don't have a problem overseeing that. I mean, it says designate, that's the principal. Theoretically, the principal sets it. I don't have a problem being able to check with the principals to see. But really what typically happens is a principal will call and say, hey, I have a volunteer who we just need help reducing their participation. And then we step in to help with that. Hasn't been where somebody wants more hours, calls me and says they need more hours.
I think we took, there was an hour in there, and it was 10. Yeah, we took that hour, so that 10 hours is at the discretion of the principal and superintendent.
Well, cause some sites are gonna need more volunteer help than others. I mean,
I don't have a problem being able to like how do we work, because I think the oversight's fine, like I can help with that.
Because I feel like this does give oversight, superintendent
that's what we.
Yes,
I
we're
What
going
did you
to
I know.
make a clarification on paragraph 2, that second paragraph.
Third, actually.
Right, about we're gonna separate that so it's clear that we're talking about parent volunteers and then employee volunteers. And
Oh,
then,
yeah.
and then no compensation, and then, in paragraph 3, we're looking at, removing the information about the workers' compensation and insurance liability coverage, because it doesn't apply anymore.
Are we just gonna take that whole paragraph out?
Yes, that was part of the original language, so, we can make that update.
And then,
And then I thought we were okay with not specifying, on training, but we will clarify that district training, annual training would be provided.
with some examples and topics.
Right,
Would be required.
or, it is required, yes, like our boundary policy at, sexual harassment
Yes.
and mandated reporting. And then I think we said just now that we're okay with the superintendent designee oversight.
Regarding the third paragraph, can't we just strike the workers' comp benefits? Don't we need to leave in there that we will provide liability insurance coverage, or we don't have to put that in there? It's just implied.
You do want people oversight anyway.
Oh, so there's just no point for the whole paragraph? Okay, I'm fine with that.
We don't care.
Okay.
Anybody that comes on our property
Sure,
is already covered, so
okay, no problem.
Well, on the, number of hours, I think one was gonna still look at maybe the language there.
Yeah, I mean, like, we wanna use the words like approved by the superintendent instead of, I don't know if that means the need, Jeanette?
Maybe it's determined by the, principal and approved by the superintendent. I mean, obviously, it's gonna come from,
Yeah, that sounds fine to me. It's okay with everybody else.
I'm kind of struggling with that just because, so what we're asking the superintendent is to approve volunteer hours for each and every volunteer. That's, we have thousands of volunteers.
no, my concern is what quantity the principals determine for their site.
But at the same time, can't they change that? They can limit their,
Well, we are, gonna provide guidelines because we are going into a school year next year where volunteers, may be asked, to help, and if we have less staff, then we have to really balance that because we can't be doing classified work, and we're actually gonna reiterate that with principals on Thursday. But I think that oversight, might be timely, where I can provide guidance, for my office as far as the do's and don'ts of volunteers. I don't see it as every time I volunteer, they have to come ask me. I think I see it more as they generally run their volunteer programs, if there's an issue, I'm gonna provide oversight for that.
can we just change that to volunteers may be limited in the number of hours serviced in a single classroom?
So instead of will, we'll change that to may.
That's a little different than. I'm assuming when you work with them, there would be some kind of a range of what's normal.
Every classroom is different though too. I mean,
That teachers and the principals should know their classrooms.
Yes.
So then, when they wanna exceed kind of what's considered normal, and they're going outside of that, they run it by you.
I'm good with that.
I just think it's getting into a very difficult situation because there was no possible way I could be able to track my hours in PTA. Like, we're talking in a single classroom setting, does the hours when I run in and drop off a flyer, is that gonna count? Like, it just seems very, complicated.
Understand. I don't know that I see it necessarily as complicated, but I also know that we are gonna have to provide a lot of guidance next year going into a school year where we are gonna be asking volunteers to help us. We don't have as many now, just met with PTA about this. And they were asking that specific question, how did they get, permission to help more? Because we went away from it. Really, a lot of our volunteers are not putting as many hours as maybe we were used to in the past. And they're really working with, field trips, things like that, and so we are gonna have to provide guidance. So I think the overall guidance that we do provide will help with that oversight that you're talking about.
I like the word may just because it allows the discretion of the principal or the teacher to say, you know, I don't need that many people. So, yeah. Okay, any more discussion? All right. Call for the vote. With those changes.
Motion carried, 5-0.
Moving on to public participation. Community input. Public comments are permitted upon submission of a completed registration card prior to the start of public participation. This is not a forum for debate policy concerns. Not a forum for policy. Debate policy concerns. Oh, okay, different sentence. Sorry. Policy concerns will be referred to the superintendent. When called, speakers may proceed to the podium, state their name and trustee area, and speak for the allotted time. The allotted time will be announced by the board president before the first speaker begins and will not exceed 3 minutes. How many speakers?
18.
3 minutes.
Michael Paisner, Jean Saglin, and Rachel Yudy.
Michael Paisner. Ms. Olson, can you actually look at me?
Welcome, Michael.
Thank you. Wow, you're actually looking at me. You use the phrase respectful of all families, and you look down, you still can't see me or anyone on this side of the room, and use that phrase in any earnestness. Respectful of all families? Unbelievable. Recently, Ms. Olson said the quiet part out loud on Instagram. She advocated against the book Pride Month, complaining it normalizes the LGBTQ community by providing definitions. What's next? Is she going to edit the dictionary to remove the words she doesn't like? She is trying to make our community into 1984, but I fear only 2 of the 5 board members even understand that reference. Foolish me trying to explain discrimination to David Duke. I bet some of you got that reference. But I fear 3 of you are actually flattering by it. In California, there are laws against discrimination. AB 1078 prevents removing books based on LGBTQ content. The FAIR Act requires inclusion of LGBTQ content in the curriculum. The mission statement directs you to include everyone, and basic human decency demands the same. Olson's blatant statements of hatred and exclusion not only risk civil and criminal action against the school district, it defines her as a small, scared, and cruel person. Ms. Rendler, I notified you of Ms. Olson's discriminatory post, and as is typical, I got no response. Ms. Olson attacks her own constituents, and still, you refuse to censure her or make any condemnation of her discriminatory behavior. To paraphrase Edmund Burke, the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good people to do nothing. Ms. Rendler, you failed to stand up for those being attacked when you have the power to do so. That is not the behavior of a good person. But clearly you have the do nothing part down really, really well, because that's all you do, nothing. Redlands deserves better. The people of this community deserve better. You have the responsibility to represent everyone. In Ms. Rendler, you have failed. Every time you let Olson shenanigans go unchecked, you fail again. She has engaged in discriminatory behavior over and over, and Ms. Rendler, you are doing nothing about it. We exist on this side of the room. unfortunately, you don't seem to realize it, Ms. Brendler, because you're not standing up for us. And it's really a shame.
Welcome, Jean.
Yes, my name is Jean Salomon, and I'm from Melissa's district. Excuse me, not district, trustee area. My public comment is regarding diversity. Diversity is the fabric of America. Diversity is our strength, and our unity is our power. Redlands RUSD will never be rid of its diversity. The people of the RUSD will unite to take back the school board so that all students fully are accepted, supported, and celebrated in the school district. The people united will never be defeated. Your neo-Nazi colonization is not welcome here.
Thank you, Jean. Welcome back, Rachel.
Thank you. All right, what is really sad is that the city of Redlands School District is not following the purpose as it stated, that academic achievement for all students ensure that every student receives quality education with high expectations and innovative partnerships. For those that profess not to know what's happening or what this means or don't have a degree in it, there are excellent books by David and Tim Barton about what the old schoolhouse taught. And it's really shameful that those in the third grade at that time is not even accomplished by our 12th graders. Foster an environment that attracts and retains high-quality employees. Build a positive work environment culture for teachers and staff. Provide opportunity for every student to participate fully. Support inclusive programming across academics, athletics, and extracurricular activities. That is the goal of the school board, not to go and be a cultural, social environment. Those that came before us went through that basic education. That's where we are here with all the highly skills from Ben Carson to Abraham Lincoln, everyone. It was the education that led them here, and that's why we're here. It's to learn. If you want to be a farmer, if you want to be a nurse, a surgeon, a president, you have to know the basics: science, math, how to read and write. That's not happening. Because that's not the focus of this board, to vote on the other. You confuse students when you can have one room or one wall, 3 walls, be free of everything, but you have one area where the kids see it every single day. And that's what kids all want to be liked and have friends.
Thank you. Next, we have Valerie Davis, followed by Erica Grossman and Dale Brew.
So, due to a lot of money paid out for sexual abuse lawsuits, bad financial decisions during COVID, and the woke agenda happening in schools, our enrollment is down, and now many are facing layoffs. As parents have become aware of what is really happening in classrooms, they are choosing to homeschool or turn to private school. They may not be here at these board meetings yelling obscenities like the members of the radical group Together for Redlands does. They are showing their disdain for the system in a mature way. They are taking action by removing their child from the environment. Trust has been broken, and the public education system has taken a back seat to politics and indoctrination. Children should be the priority, not used as political pawns, such as what happened during the walkout last month. Groups like Redlands Free Market, Safe Redlands Schools, and even some of our teachers put those kids in danger. Most parents do not want classrooms filled with pride flags, inappropriate books, and teachers that push their political agenda, all while keeping secrets from them. And they definitely do not want boys in girls' spaces. Go back to basics, put education first, and trust will return, and so will then the families. But considering how you three voted, and why isn't Melissa staring at me? You're not looking at me. I find that very disrespectful. Considering how you three voted, I kind of doubt that you'll see your enrollment going up. And one of the previous speakers pointed out they like to criticize Candy Olson for not just staring down the speakers, all while the whole time Melissa was looking down while other speakers were talking. So why not get enraged over her? I'm too mad at you for not staring at me.
Thank you, Doris. Welcome back, everyone.
Yesterday I was in a classroom with 3 parents, and including one from an outside agency. The individual from the agency was on a phone sleep. The district parents told me that this person has been behaving this way since being placed in a classroom last year. They reported the issue to the administration, but nothing has been done. They also share that this individual is not the only staff member from that agency who has disrupted classroom work. As a result, parents are now expected to manage the behavior of staff from outside agencies in addition to supporting students. That is not their responsibility. I understand that district plans to terminate its contract with this agency next year. However, we still have 3 months left, and it's deeply irresponsible for the district to leave these issues unaddressed. Parents are already underpaid, yet their responsibilities continue to increase. This situation directly harms special education students and clearly reflects how little the district prioritizes their needs. Okay. I have 2 books for you. One is They Came for the Schools. This one discusses how an inclusive learning approach was implemented in a suburban Texas school district after racist incidents became public. This happened a few years ago. Following those events, extremists organized attacks on the school system, pressure for book bans or targeted LGBTQ+ students. That should sound familiar, right? And the second book, One Day I Grow Up and Be a Beautiful Woman. This is also a true story written by the mother of a trans girl. She initially struggled to accept her daughter's identity, but when she finally affirms her child, the school and the district began working against them. It is devastating to me, and I sincerely hope our district never goes down that same path. Michelle, I truly want you to read this. Also, at the last board meeting, Candy said that Beth Bourne is her hero. Beth Bourne harasses children and claims it is her freedom of speech. She was even fired from a job for violent behavior. Thank you.
Thank you, Erica. Welcome back, Dale.
Dale Broom, Area 1. I wanted to discuss with the board tonight the false and inflammatory name calling that's being used by the members of Together for Redlands at the school. And I bring this up because it is not just name calling, it's resulting in criminal activity against school board members, against candidates, and their conservative supporters. Since the school board was elected, the Together for Redlands members, specifically 6 individuals alone in the last 12 months, or the first 12 months of this new school board, they have called our school board members and their followers racist or bigots 20 times. 6 individuals. They've called them Nazis or fascists 18 times. White Christian nationalists 13 times. Transphobic or homophobic 47 times. They've made derogatory statements about the Ark Church over 16 times. Just 6 individuals alone. And that doesn't count all the other individuals who've made these derogatory and inflammatory name calling. And the evidence of the criminal activity that has resulted includes swastika tagging on our church's signs out front of their church, placement of yard signs on our church property indicating that a KKK meeting was being held there on several evenings when it was simply a Bible study, tagging of the Ark Church retaining walls with KKK insignias, smothering of the Ark Church parking lot entrances with roofing nails, causing tire damage to church staffers' truck, disruption of peaceful and lawful political table events at local markets with attempts to overthrow the tables. We've had disruption and obstruction of volunteers and school board candidates who are out doing political canvassing in neighborhoods, where several of their followers come yelling out of their house, chasing people off their property, chasing them down the street, and trying to obstruct them from being able to go from one neighbor to the next to do political canvassing, which is perfectly lawful to do. But obstructing somebody on a public thoroughfare is against the law. And these are people that I don't even know who've done this to me. And I'll tell you this, it's only because this rhetoric that happens in this school board and it's getting promoted on social media. So the board has some rules about profanity, but we don't have rules about inflammatory speech that provokes criminal activity. And I think that the board should really seriously consider this, because as much as I love free speech, it doesn't promote, you should not be able to promote criminal activity. And more importantly, I would urge people not to support Together for Redlands anymore with their finances or for board candidates to even align themselves with this group. Thank you.
Next we have Laura Tebon, followed by Peter Hall, and then Aaron Price.
Good evening again. My name is Lawrence Hembrown. I live in Area 3. There's been a lot of consternation about all the layoffs the Redlands School District has had to make recently. There are many reasons for this, but here's one that you would be well advised to keep in mind if you want to avoid having to make a lot more in the future. Take a moment to remember your favorite restaurant. You like the food, you like the service, and it's conveniently located. Now imagine you went there to find they had completely changed the menu. And not only change it, but change it to things you don't care for, like rattlesnake venom cocktails, tofu worm burgers, pond scum shakes, and tofu fungus fritters. What's more, the serving staff has taken a decidedly snarky and abusive tone, including telling their family members what they should believe. Would you go back, or would you look for another restaurant? You know the answer. Well, a lot of parents have a similar reaction to the menu the Redlands School Board has been offering for the last several years, and they are voting with their feet, choosing private schools and homeschools instead. Overwhelmingly, they don't like your obsession with disparaging America, opting for sexually graphic instructional materials in books and libraries, keeping parents in the dark about critical matters, and generally pushing agendas with which they strongly disagree. The reaction to these unpopular policies was predicted, including by me. And now you are paying the price. At a board meeting over a year ago, from this very podium, I asked, quote, why would parents pay thousands of dollars a year on tuition, books, and other supplies to send their children to a private school when they could send them to a public school for no additional expense? Why would parents assume the weighty responsibility of teaching their own children every subject for every year when trained professionals are available to do that for no additional trouble. Obviously, the public schools are not providing something which these parents feel is critical, or the public schools are forcing something which these parents feel is intolerable. As a result, there are hundreds of classroom seats that are empty because of the decision of these parents to go elsewhere. And that means we don't need as many teachers, custodians, food service workers, bus drivers, and security guards. And what's more, we don't have the money to pay them. End of quote. When you adopt policies that offend a number of parents, they leave. And this hurts your ability to hire and pay good personnel to do the work of education. The solution is simple. Don't indulge such offending policies. Stick to the basics, not indoctrination. Maybe everybody won't be happy, but neither will you give cause for offense, mass exodus, and mass layoffs. On the other hand, if you want to kill jobs and the ability to pay your current employees, then keep doing what you've been doing and be prepared to write even more layoff notices.
We've heard the word culture and the phrase cultural war bandied about a lot lately. Well, I'm here to say that people like me did not start the culture war. We're just responding to it. People like them are the ones that started it, and now they're telling us to stop fighting and to just surrender. Well, to that I say, no, we will not stop fighting you. You started this, and we're going to finish it. We're tired of you telling us what to do. We're tired of you making these ridiculous demands about things that are not important. We're tired of you trying to dictate ridiculous nonsense that has no bearing in reality whatsoever. If you want to wear the rainbow pride flag as lapel or whatever on your clothing, or carry a personal flag, then you can do that. But to demand that the school fly your pride flag is just wrong. And I don't even think that we should let people do that just for themselves, because we won't let Christians wear crosses around their necks. People get in trouble for wearing the Gadsden flag as a t-shirt, or wearing the Appeal to Heaven as a t-shirt, or wearing the Confederate battle flag as a t-shirt. People get a high school kid got into trouble for holding a pro-immigration customs enforcement flag, and then he got beaten up, and he was the one that got into trouble for promoting hateful messages, but the person that assaulted him got away with it. No, we will not stop. Thank you.
Thank you, Pete.
Hello, my name is Eric Perez, Area 3. I have a daughter who attends Kingsbury Elementary School. I made a CDE complaint in September. The CDE found that the district was in violation. The CDE wrote out directives to the school district to correct it. And then the school district has violated those CDE orders. And I sent a cease and desist letter to the district. And the cease and desist letter is being ignored. So I need your help to get my cease and desist letter honored until this matter can be resolved. My daughter has dyslexia. My daughter is upset. My daughter is suffering as a result of this district violating the directives from the CDE. So this is a violation of the law that has occurred, and I need your help, because every time we reach out for help, we're stonewalled and they don't give us answers. So I need you to direct your staff to help me so that my child can get the help they need. I've spoken to Juan Cabral. I've spoken to Mr. Rossi, and I emailed you all the cease and desist letter last night. I need your assistance to implement the cease and desist letter. I'm not telling you to tell them what to do. I'm asking you to have them honor the cease and desist letter that I, as a parent, have sent to the district. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Aaron. Next, we have Joshua Hall, followed by Karen Starr and Kate Appleby. Welcome back, Joshua.
I want to talk about the anti-ICE protests and how ridiculous they are. How teachers and school officials are contributing to the truancy and delinquency of students. A couple of weeks ago on Tennessee and Orange, I saw about 300 students ages first grade through high school, protesting ICE. They went into the stadiums on Tennessee and Orange and, messed it up before they were kicked out. And I just have to ask, why are high school kids and first graders, second graders and so forth going to anti-ICE protests? Kids should be in school, they should not be going to anti-ICE protests. Teachers and school officials are contributing to their delinquency and truancy just for political gain. And the anti-ICE protests are just a way for people who hate America, both immigrants and American citizens who hate America, to showcase their hatred towards America and towards other Americans and toward white people in general, and white males, and towards people who support the borders. Without borders, you don't have a culture. Without borders, you don't have love. Without borders, you don't have order. And the anti-ICE protests are just a way to get Americans, specifically white Americans, but anyone who is pro-law and order and pro-borders, to just shut down and accept their status as second and third class citizens, while immigrants who hate America are treated better than citizens. And kids who are white are, they're told that they're bad because they're white, and kids who are not white are told that they're victims because they're not white. White people are not the only colonizers. We make 8% of the global population, and with the current rate of mass migration into America, Canada, and Western Europe, we're the ones who are currently being colonized now. But because of our history of colonization in the past, we're told to just shut up and take it. I hate the phrase that America is a land of immigrants. Technically, that's factually true, but it obscures a lot of falsehoods. There's a difference between immigrants and settlers. Settlers come to a country that is mostly uninhabited and undeveloped, and they develop it. Immigrants come to a country that's already developed, and some of them might contribute, but like a lot of them don't. They just come to live off welfare, and a lot of them come to do even more than just live off of welfare. A lot of them come to abuse the citizenry who pays the taxes and victimize them through violent and property crimes, and the citizen is then expected to tolerate it. It's not fair.
Some days she can fully engage, some days she cannot. The variability is part of her disability, not defiance, not lack of effort. She's missed approximately 50% of the school year and is now failing all of her classes. Instead of meaningful monitoring and intervention, she received detention. Accommodations have been delayed, narrowed, denied, and appropriate options for learning have not been provided. The district does not have a meaningful plan for chronically ill students whose conditions fluctuate. Students who are medically vulnerable and struggling to stay connected in school. The district does not have a plan to recognize when children are hospitalized and how to get them back integrated into school when they're already behind. When a child is at their most fragile, that is when the system should lean in and not step back. My daughter did not fall behind because she cannot learn. She fell behind because the system did not respond. Please give my daughter a chance to obtain an education and stop putting rigid policy over individual needs and disability law.
Good evening again. Board at 20 to 10. I do want to talk a little bit about December 9th when you adopted your Board of Education governance handbook. Didn't think I was going to pull this out again, but here we are. Page 12. Michelle, President Redlands, there have been violations to the norms and protocols tonight several times, and you have not addressed them with your board. They are your board. You need to hold them accountable. I know that's scary. I know Melissa's got a big personality. I know Candy has a big personality. I know big personalities in the room together is terrifying for someone who does not know how to manage big personalities. But you were elected president, so I need you to learn how to manage big personalities, and I need you to do your job. You adopted this. This is your responsibility to uphold, not theirs. I mean, it should be theirs as well, but it is yours. So please, make this your focus. If you want to focus on students at the beginning so that we all have all good feelings while we're here, I appreciate that. I love hearing from the kids. But this is important for how they function with each other, and you are their leader. That's not what I wanted to come to say today. I actually wanted to come and talk to you for making the State of the District open to all community members. My CVHS student and I both found the information and the evening incredibly insightful. The very first goal for the district is literacy by 3rd grade, and it was acknowledged that the reason for this is that after 3rd grade, students are reading to learn. So if they don't know how to read, they can't read to learn. Makes perfect sense. I would ask this board, though, to go further with this goal and acknowledge that reading proficiency requires constant practice, like going to the gym, and that you would protect the space that provides guaranteed access to books for all students. That is a fully staffed school library. If literacy is truly a district goal, then school libraries and books should be a priority. But actions by this board and our USD show otherwise. The layoff of all the classified library staff will hobble our literacy goal. The only library staff at our USD elementary schools are those classified library paraprofessionals. You just effectively shut your elementary libraries down. There will be no trained professional staff to support our students' literacy. And the only staffing at the secondary school sites will be your credentialed teacher librarian, which means that one of two things is going to happen. The library will be either open to all students all the time, which is great and fantastic, but the collaboration with teachers and students in classes will be cut, or library services will be limited while they work with teachers and students.
Thank you, Katie.
Next is Valerie Tabor, Craig Johnston, and Mark Blair.
Thank you. First of all, I think that it is really disrespectful to staff that the layoff emails came today at 5 p.m. with less than an hour before the board meeting. Perhaps that is not the intention, but it felt disrespectful to many staff because I'm hearing about it. If you didn't want that, it makes the appearance that you didn't want them to be here angry at you. So maybe plan that a little bit differently next time. Preferably not at 5 p.m. That'd be great. The second thing that I wanted to ask about is that you brought up that volunteers are not going to be able to replace classified staff, Mr. Cabral. And if they are not allowed to replace the classified paraprofessionals, then Ms. Appleby is indeed correct that you are effectively shuttering our libraries. Because if you cannot have the volunteers go back to running them, which is what the case was for many of our elementary schools, and you cannot afford to keep them staffed, then how do they run? How do students have access to the libraries? I would really like to know what the plan is for that, because my student is in elementary school, and I would like him to have access for the next 4 to 5 years that he's on that campus. Second of all, I have no idea what Dr. Wilson's preferences are, but it hits wrong that you call him Rudy. If I had a doctorate, I would want to be referred to as a doctor. That's minimum respectfulness. That's thank you, Valerie.
Welcome, Craig.
Hey, how you guys doing? I'm gonna keep it polite. Not gonna try to be rude. I've been waiting for a Title IX investigation for a report. It'll be 2 years in September. My nephews were molested at Franklin Elementary, and I don't know who did it. Was it a faculty member? Was it a teacher? I spoke to you many times, Rudy. I've been really cool, and I'm I'm really upset. The way I'm containing myself right now, the way I'm acting, is not the way I feel at all. And it sucks to have to do this. It's gonna be 2 years. I don't know what happened to my nephews. There's also 8 other children in there that were molested. Do you guys know about that? Are you guys okay with that? How long does it take to type up a report? Who was in it? What happened? I talked to you about it, Mr. Cabral. You got any words for me? Anything? How long would it take you to type up a report? Mr. Wilson? How long? I want answers. The things I deal with, you guys wouldn't fucking imagine. I wake up at 3 a.m. Somebody just soiled themselves, they're screaming, they're having night terrors. I got a full-time job. I work more hours than you would imagine. I still do it day in and day out. How long does it take to report? I can't get the help that they need if I don't know what happened to them. I don't know what happened to them. Do you guys know? Are you guys complicit in it? What happened? Is this okay with you guys? Are you guys gonna go home? You guys got kids? You guys gonna go home and stare at your kids and be like, fuck. What are you gonna tell them? What are you gonna look at them? What are you gonna do? What am I gonna do? I just want my answers. I've been calm. I feel like I'm handling myself very appropriately. You know? Like, I'm fucking shaking right now. I'm so upset. This is not the way I want to handle it. And, man, like, this honestly isn't even the individual I am. I would handle this so poorly a million times over. But I'm trying. I've been patient. I've been one patient pro for 2 years. 2 years in September, Rudy. I came to you so correct. I came to you so polite, so kind. Come on. It doesn't take that long. You won't. I need answers. Mr. Cabral, I need answers. Are you gonna do something about this? Are you guys okay with this? There's 8 other kids. You guys are staring at me. I got all your guys' attention. That's real. I want answers.
Thank you, Craig.
You guys gonna take care of it? Are you gonna take care of it? Are you?
I will.
You're gonna give me a report?
I will direct the superintendent.
Mr. Cabral, you gonna give me a report?
I will direct.
Mr. Wilson.
Excuse me, Craig.
What's up?
I will direct the superintendent to follow up.
To do what?
To follow up with you.
I want a report. I want to follow up. I want a report. 2 years in September. My kids were molested. 8 other kids too.
Okay.
Is it time to go? Yeah. All right. Come here. Everybody's okay with it, right? No. Come to the fucking meeting. I waited 4 fucking hours to say that shit.
Well, I think that's my cue. I think it's my cue. Well, I will say I do feel, I feel slightly validated by some of these people that have come up here and spoken tonight because as a community member, I haven't felt listened to. And now I'm seeing its parents too. And it makes me really disheartened to see that. I'm going to read Michelle's words back to her because I hope that we're keeping this promise going forward, Michelle. I am proud, a proud parent, it is both an honor and a responsibility to serve the communities of the Redlands Unified School District. As a board member, I have successfully and actively listened to all stakeholders in our district. I'm a stakeholder. I don't feel listened to. Many parents don't feel listened to. Have worked hard to represent their concerns. You are my representative. I feel tonight, one of your posts, you heard me out. I could see that, I could see it. And so I'm grateful for that, but I'd like to see more going forward, Michelle. I have set policies that include their ideals, grounded in the best interest of all. Grounded in the best interest of all. When I look at the statistics for my LGBT students, and I wish I had them pulled up right now, but I'm distracted. Gender affirming schools, literally protest in Senator Candy for last meeting. I even reached out to you personally. And I reached out pretty respectfully, and I just was asking for a follow-up. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think you knew the social media settings you were changing, but my response to that direct message was you disabled the ability to message, which made me feel really unheard. It was the opposite of a response. It was a non-response that kept me from contacting you in the future. I would like for you to look into that, because even if you don't reply, I would like to be able to contact my board member, either by Instagram or by email. But if you have an account where we're running for school board, it should be accessible to the public, and I should be able to message you. So please, can you look into that for me? Anyways, I'm tired. It's been a long night. Thank you for your time. Please be mindful going forward of those things.
Thank you, Mark.
Next we have Greg Britton, followed by Antonio and Brian Sagers.
We've heard a number of times tonight that we should focus on things that matter. But of course, the left is highly focused on culture and the cultural aspect of what happens in school. Why? Because it does matter. I'm going to quote Lincoln to you. The philosophy of the classroom in one generation becomes the philosophy of government in the next generation. And hence, the focus of the left on indoctrinating, sexualizing our children, not just here in Redlands, but across the country. But in a great victory for common sense and common decency, as you probably heard, I think it wasn't discussed tonight, unfortunately, was the U.S. Supreme Court upheld the injunction in Marabelli versus Olson, which provides that, among other things, parents and guardians have a federal constitutional right to be informed if their public school student child expresses gender incongruence. That's not just that you can tell them. They have a constitutional right to know. That means you gotta tell them. And is this district, is this board gonna bring that up and make sure that the district staff understands that? Well, the injunction goes on to say that teachers and school staff have a federal constitutional right to accurately inform the parent or guardian of their student when the student expresses gender incongruence. These federal constitutional rights are superior to any state or local laws, state or local regulations, state or local policies to the contrary. That is the law of the land. I hope that this district will promptly implement them, not only because it's the law, because it's common sense and common decency. There's another initiative petition circulating for school choice. And as of a week or two ago, it had 600,000 signatures, triple the number of the previous attempt. As a number of us have cautioned you that if you keep doing things that your customers, the parents, don't like, they're going to take their business elsewhere. And increasingly, even without a school choice program at the state level, they have increasingly the ability to do so. There's excellent homeschooling programs, there are homeschooling cooperatives, there are private schools, and with AI, the ability to convey information without all of you will only increase. So I suggest, if you want to keep doing what you're doing, if you want to keep your jobs, as well as presumably trying to educate the children, you need to focus on those basics and improve your game and not do the less culture work.
Thank you, Greg. Welcome, Antonio.
Hello. Today I am speaking on behalf of Rainbow Rose and RUSA Insights. We were the student-led group that organized the walkout. The reason why we organized the walkout was to demonstrate how we could mobilize the student body into taking direct action. We also wanted to convey our demands to the school board, considering how you have ignored our voices for the past year. Now, we sent an email on the 20th of February. That email was meant an automatic reply. So, it seems that you have ignored us. Now, this may not be intentional, but we will restate the demands once again to make sure it's clear. We want